I was on a team with a whole bunch of LA Fitness niggas. No badges. Felt like I was hooping for the 2011-2012 Bobcats. Niggas was trash. We had a 5'9" center with the smallest wingspan, the smallest arms, but couldn't shoot. Clogging the lane. We had the captain. No disrespect to the captain. They didn't fuck with you, bro. You picked this whole team. Nobody cared about you, bro. You didn't have no control over it. Bro, listen. So bad. We had a Mike. I'm sorry I gotta say your name. You are the worst, one of the worst hoopers in the whole country, bro. You wide open and it say 100% contested. You can't make nothing, man. And then every man that guards you double me.
Do you know how smart you have to be for the very people who wanted you and your brother dead to be like, man, you know what? Let's just put this guy in the most dangerous prison in the world, but let's not kill him just so we can use him to break somebody out.
Honest, didn't think we'd see it happen. You know he's gonna break out. It's in his blood.
It's in his blood. That's exactly what we wanted to do.
At that point, it's a curse being that smart. Like, what does a man have to do to live a regular life? You break your brother out of prison for a murder he didn't commit, and now your girlfriend, nephew, or any person you or your brother's connected to is in grave danger. And even in season 2, you finally reunite with your dad just for him to get smoked a couple minutes later. Yeah, maybe prison ain't so bad, which would be true if the people who put you in that prison didn't have your nephew and love of your life kidnapped and used as blackmail to break another prisoner out.
Talk! Dad. Dad. I'm so sorry. They got me and Sarah.
Now, I completely understand the critics for season 3 of Prison Break. Oh, let's just put Michael back in prison and have him break out again. Yeah, if you take the season at face value, the season does feel a little bit like a money grab by Fox. But was I entertained though? Yes, thoroughly entertained. Because the company put Michael Scofield in the most ridiculous scenario imaginable. First off, Michael isn't in a regular prison. He's in a prison where the guards only watch over the inmates from the outside. That's how crazy these dudes are. Then you have the leader of the prison, Lechero, who was a former gang member that got sentenced to Sona and now maintains order by having duels to decide arguments. Yeah, that's sick. Then you got Whistler, the man Michael was tasked with breaking out, who basically doesn't even exist. Prior to Michael discovering him, he was somehow hiding from the rest of the inmates in the sewers of Sona, which is kind of hilarious. You want me to break someone out and I don't even know if they're alive. Then to make things worse, everybody somehow knows Michael like he's some damn celebrity. And when you're trying to break out of prison, it doesn't help having that reputation as the guy who breaks out of prison. And then to make things even worse, some of the guys from Fox River and his #1 nemesis are in Sona with him. And when I say some of the guys from Fox River, I'm not talking about Sucre or his brother who are in this season, but they're helping him from the outside. I'm talking about Teabag and Bellic. Michael and Teabag damn near had a battle to the death in the ending of season 2. And Bellic tried to hunt him down for an entire season. Then you put Mahone into the mix, who was having hallucinations all season.
Get your head straight up.
Yeah, this is the definition of putting your team on your back. He did have McGrady though. Shout out McGrady.
I was best in my school.
It's just a bit outside.
Now, I did make a video going over the first 3 episodes where Michael finds Whistler and fixes the water pipes in Sona. So if you want to go back and watch that, go ahead. But I'll be covering the events that unfolded from episode 4 to the end of the season. And you won't believe what episode 4 revolves around. Michael fixing the electricity. First, he was tasked with being a plumber. And now, in episode 4, Michael is an electrician.
You know you can fix this electric problem?
I won't know for sure until we can start digging, but yes, I think so.
What other main characters you know who's doing that? No, but seriously, what type of bougie ass prison tasks an inmate with fixing the electricity? Michael isn't even qualified for that. This man was a structural engineer. But the funniest part is, Michael's the one that caused the outage by using McGrady's cross to keep the circuit open. Season 1 Sarah would be so disappointed in you, Mike. Thought you wanted to be part of the solution and not the problem.
Solution, not the problem.
Be the change you want to see in the world. What?
Nothing, that was just my senior quote.
I can see what they're doing, what he's doing. I can see it, I feel it.
That was you? This whole time I was thinking it was Gandhi.
So when he does go to turn the breaker back on, it doesn't work because of the open circuit. But he can't just remove the cross because Lechero and Sammy are in the room watching him. So he uses Sammy punching him as an opening to remove the cross, and then the power turns back on. So now the electric fence is turned back on, and as a favor for fixing the electricity, Michael gets a new cell that overlooks the electric fence. But Michael did make one mistake this episode, and that was playing games with Sideshow Mahone. Y'all can't tell me you don't see the resemblance, especially after you see what he does next. At this point in the show, Mahone isn't just hearing the voices like in season 2. This man is having full-on hallucinations of Haywire.
Get your head straight up.
So basically, Michael tasked Mahone with finding a specific type of pen, just so he could keep him busy. And it ends up working until Michael ends up leaving that pen in his old room. So Mahone's like, oh, he's playing with me. And in 2009, Randy Orton fashion, loses his shit and almost stabs Michael. If there's one thing Alexander Mahone is going to take personal, it's someone trying to make him look like a fool. Especially if the person trying to make him look like a fool is Michael Scofield. Even with a common goal of getting out of prison, this man almost threw it all away because his intelligence just got tested by his arch nemesis. I can respect that. Mahone doing this also kind of guaranteed his spot in the escape team because having an FBI agent that's suffering from withdrawals and is also known to have a tendency to kill convicts, it's not something I want to worry about in a prison like Sona. But speaking of people Michael doesn't want to break out, let's talk about Teabag. Surprisingly, we are 4 episodes in and he hasn't offed somebody. But I got good news, he found his next victim. But this isn't like Fox River, where Teabag offs people out of racism or some personal vendetta. In Sona, he's trying to move his way up in the world, so he takes out Lechero's guy, who's responsible for the drugs in Sona, and makes his death look like an overdose. Also, he could take his position and get closer to Lechero. And you know Teabag's an experienced killer, because he casually got this flimsy plastic bag over this man's face with one hand. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, for a quick second, I was questioning why he didn't use both hands, but then I remembered. But moving on to episode 5, Michael and Whistler have a day and a half to break out, and also have to do so in the middle of the day because, as Michael saw the night before with the rat, it is impossible to break out of here at night. So they start watching the guards' movements with their binoculars, and they see that there's an opening with one of the 2 guards due to the glare of the sun shining directly in his line of sight. Now, to distract the other guard, Michael notices that he likes to adjust his radio when it loses signal strength, so he built a DIY transmitter from a microwave to jam the signal. He then looks through his binoculars to see if his device is working, but when he stops to see if someone is outside his cell, his binoculars give off a glare, so when he goes back to look at the guard, he almost meets Jesus. So now the entire prison is in lockdown, and Michael is being interrogated because he decided to step up and admit it was his. So you're thinking, oh shit, how's he gonna talk his way out of this? And all he offers up as an explanation is, it's not a weapon though. So the guard's like, oh, it's not a weapon? Yeah, my goat deserves to be shot. But luckily Whistler steps in, claiming he was using it to watch birds, and even shows them a book about birds as further proof. And not only did that work, but they left a scope for them, and this really had me thinking, this cupcake ass prison. Michael has free reign to do what he wants in that prison, and he has a competent escapee in Whistler, and he has terrain advantages. These type of natural advantages were not happening in the gloomy, dark hellhole they called Fox River. But during this shakeout by the guards, you won't believe the one inmate who was tasked with protecting Lechero's girlfriend. I don't know if I can call her that, but it's Teabag, and what transpires is maybe one of the greatest shot attempts I've ever seen. Trapped in a small closet, hiding from armed guards, with a prostitute that is also in a situationship with your boss, and you go out there and start putting up 2016 Steph numbers.
I promise you, I will not let anyone find you in here.
Lechero hates me.
Lechero does not hate you. You hold a very special place in his heart.
So many girls can take my place.
Be smart, he knows you're better than them. You're a real woman. A woman with her own will, her own desire.
You know what I am.
Enough for the 3 points. Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli.
In this world, sister, we are all prostitutes.
Aguero!
You are a queen.
Get down, write that down!
I'm sorry to all my viewers that are prostitutes, but most guys aren't practicing pickup lines for when they're with one. Kinda defeats the purpose. So you know this was off the dome. Then he starts applying pressure physically by cleaning her mascara, all while keeping up the "you're only for Lechero" act.
You need to look pretty for Lechero.
Yeah, this was a generational performance by Teabag. Right up until Lechero comes back, because Teabag lies for her by creating a fake story about giving her the money so she could take the taxi back home. And Lechero's like, yeah, right, you're trying to take my girl.
Get the bucket. Wash my feet.
Now moving on to episode 6, this is where the show really starts to pick up, because today's the day Michael and Whistler have to break out, and they have to use Sammy's room as a breakout point, but then they see that Tig's been murdered, so the entire episode turns into a whodunit murder mystery. Lachero suspects Whistler because of the testimony from McGrady, and he keeps him in his room. Michael suspects Mahone at first, then he accuses Bellic, and Bellic's like, dude, I can't even kill myself.
Damn.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, because it was a thought. No, seriously, it was a thought. It was a thought, and I blurted it out. I didn't fine.
So now Michael has to turn to Teabag for help, and of course, asking for Teabag's help just turns into a way for him to help himself, and he suggests framing Sammy. But I do have to clarify, because I feel like that's important, regarding Teabag. There was no racial intent behind this decision. Teabag was just looking for another promotion.
You ain't got the memorandum, but I've been promoted, boy.
But Michael ends up coming full circle and blaming Mahone again, because he finds the murder weapon under his mattress. But Michael made a big mistake in telling Mahone beforehand, because this gives Mahone enough time to leave prison due to a deal he was offered by his former colleague in the beginning of the episode. So now Lachero is going to kill Whistler, but instead stabs Shay, one of his goons, for stealing cigarettes. That's kind of whack, I'm gonna be honest. And the crazy part is, Whistler did kill him. At least I think he did. The show doesn't directly tell us, but it makes sense for him to kill the guy who knows about his past, especially when they conveniently needed a new dead body so Super could spray chemicals on the fence. But now with that out the way, Michael and Whistler can continue on with the plan. There's just one last thing that needs to happen. Lincoln and Michael have a last minute conversation on how they want the exchange with Gretchen to go down. But then Michael starts demanding for pictures of Sarah, because you know, he's got to see how his boo's doing. So Lincoln decides he has to tell him the truth. Sarah's pregnant. This man is experiencing the worst news imaginable for a boyfriend that's in jail. Michael, wait, maybe it's your kid. Ain't my damn kid, bro. You know I stay wrapped up. While I was trapped in these walls, somebody was in her walls. Damn. Not gonna cry, not gonna cry, not gonna cry, not gonna cry, not gonna cry. No, but seriously, the actor that plays Sarah Tancredi actually got pregnant in real life and was having contract disputes, so they had to write her off this season. So now, in a state of disbelief and rage, he blames Whistler for her death and challenges him to a duel.
I don't want to meet nowhere. Pull up in front of my house. Matter of fact, you ain't even got to pull up in front of my house. Pull up in front of the motherfucking precinct and let's bang out. I hate you, nigga. Let's die.
And I gotta give the show their credit, because they really had me fooled that he was about to throw his whole plan away to enact some revenge on Whistler. But what he really did was use this as a distraction so he and Whistler could have the freedom to escape, and it ended up buying them enough time. But when your plan relies on a clear forecast, it was probably doomed from the start, and a cloud ends up covering the sun, so Michael and Whistler have to ditch the plan. But now they actually have to go through with their battle to the death, even though it was just a bluff. Yeah, I never thought I would see the day where my goat would be exposed for being a fake crash out.
Come on, man, y'all niggas know the fuck up. Oh, stop playing, don't slap any nigga over here. Stay cool.
But here we are. 15 minutes earlier, he was hooting and hollering, demanding a fight to the death.
This man is no friend of mine.
An eye for an eye. Once you make such a declaration, there's no going back. There's nothing to go back to.
This has all been a terrible mistake. We've worked it out. There's no need to take this any further. Let's go.
Yeah, this is a bad look. So Michael gives his best iCarly impersonation and gets rocked. No, but seriously though, this isn't a grep against Prison Break. Damn near every show or movie I watch where someone throws a punch, full extension, even got a little rotation in their hips, and they land clean, flush on someone's chin, they just get up like it's nothing. That shit is so unrealistic. If you get hit like this, you are going to sleep, or at least you're not walking straight.
But if it was realistic, most fight scenes would be super short and boring.
I know, I just think it's still funny to point out that in every major fight, everyone magically has a metal plate in their jaw. And then they both end up just duking it out for a while until Michael's like, yeah, my girl's dead. My plan failed. My nephew's probably dead too. Just take me out. And just as Whistler is about to cave his head in, the prison gets put into lockdown due to the unresponsive guard that was drugged and the escape ladder dangling from the prison window. So the guards start questioning the inmates, specifically Lachero's crew, because the cell belonged to them, and they pick out one of his crew members, question him. He doesn't respond, so he gets shot. But then Lachero gets embarrassed and exposed by the head guard. But props to him, because most people in his position would try to cling on to the fading power they have. But he's like, yeah, I got a crew left of Teabag and Sammy, and my prison has lost respect for me. Michael, break me out. Probably one of the realest things I've seen a character do this season. He even shows Michael the underground tunnel that they can use to break out. But the general has other plans. He's upset with how long the breakout is taken and forces Gretchen to break Whistler out today. Oh, I'm the general. I'm so cool. I don't say anything for almost an entire season and get episodes named after phrases I say.
Bang and burn.
I hate this guy, but your time is coming, old man. But this expedited escape blesses us with probably the craziest prison break scene to date, because an attack helicopter flies into Sona and tries to pick up Whistler. Like, what is going on? This entire episode has turned into a Mission Impossible scene starring Michael Scofield, James Whistler, the Sona guards, and the company. So Whistler is waiting on the roof to be picked up by the helicopter. Michael realizes what's going on after this call with Link and tries to stop him. So they start duking it out on the roof, going back and forth, until Whistler throws a jumping switch kick that sends Michael flying. I said I said earlier, you know, choreograph these fights better, and they're definitely trying, so I'll give them that. But what y'all think was better, this jumping kick by Whistler or the spinning back kick by Mahone in season 2? So off of the floor, he throws a switch kick. I don't know where he learned that shit, but it was not in the bureau. Them perks must have been talking to him, because that is some nut shit.
The nigga swung his body to the side, and that's how.
So now with Michael on the ground, Whistler attempts to escape by grabbing the helicopter ladder, but Michael's like, nope. You're my ticket out of here, and holds on to him for dear life until he can't hang on to the ladder anymore and falls to the ground.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
So now the entire prison gets put into lockdown. Again, this is 3 times in like under a week. The prison that is supposedly governed from the inside has needed outside intervention. Lechero, you better start doing your job. That strong leader that commanded Sona by force, and Michael's first meeting was like, this is my prison. Yeah, all that was cool. But we give that grace to young dictators. Big dog, you supposed to be our #1, and you're dictating like a bum. I bet you better start controlling your prison. No, but seriously, Lechero's lucky they had a new lead guard, because the old one might have shot him at this point. You're telling me this is the second escape in a 24-hour period, with the first one that saw a guard get drugged, and now Sona's being turned into the battlefield of an exfil mission? Yeah, you better start doing your job, old man. But this chief comes in and is like, prison escape in back-to-back days. Who could it be?
Let's see. Eeny, meeny, miny. What?
So he takes Michael out of Sona and questions him, but Michael doesn't say anything, so he gets thrown in the box. I know Link had it bad in solitary confinement in season 1, but Mike was in the box cooking under the Panamanian sun. Even after a pep talk from his BFF, he still couldn't be cheered up, so he finally breaks. I know Tweener is rolling in his grave, seeing Michael snitch for some AC. But not only does he tell them about the company, he even gives up Whistler. And it felt kind of weird seeing him break that quickly. But when your goal was to break out of prison and you just saw someone else try to do your job, you can only imagine LJ's time was limited. But speaking of LJ, I don't really talk about his role that much this season, but it's truly insane what this kid went through. Season 1, 2 boogeymen are trying to eradicate you from existence. Season 2, you're used as bait to capture your dad, and now season 3, you're kidnapped and used as a bargaining tactic. Also, he's a teenager through all of this. This man won't even graduate high school on time, and now to make things worse, Gretchen gets name dropped by Whistler, so they take her in, start waterboarding her, and she doesn't budge until Whistler rats her out, so she agrees to give up LJ. But when she brings them to the location where LJ is being held, nobody is there. But little do these guards know, they had Black Widow in custody, and she then proceeds to take both guards out while handcuffed. Now, for as crazy as that is, Brad Bellic did something even crazier this episode. So Brad gets forced into a fight with one of Sammy's new hires because he didn't want to clean up the throw up and accidentally made him step in it. And I take back my comments about the fight choreography, because I present to you the worst ass beating in Prison Break history. Yes, even worse than when Kim got jumped by the entire squad. Michael hits him with his car. They scoop up Pope, and then Link's big brother senses kick in, and he punts Kim in the gut just as he's about to shoot the car. Then he just starts landing ground and pound. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? But what this Far Cry boss villain does to Brad is one of the most unexpected ass whoopings I've ever seen, because he starts the fight with a Superman punch. He then hits Brad with an upwards elbow. How do you even set that up in a fight? You gotta get leverage on them and everything. Then he seamlessly transitions to a beautiful head kick. The kick was so quick, his foot came back to the ground before Brad's face felt the impact, and then throws a flying knee. Who is this guy? He's even emoting mid-fight, but all that fancy shit is cool. But when you're fighting the baddest guard to hail from Fox River, one of the greatest agents to ever touch the Bureau, a ex-Delta Force soldier, that still isn't enough. And he hits this dude with the secret Diddy miss, and with a few hits, kills him. Just another number added to the exponentially growing Brad Bellic kill counter. Now, before I move on to episode 10, where things really start heating up, I want to take some time to show some appreciation to William Fichtner, because he has been acting his ass off this season. The way he portrays Mahone as he's suffering from withdrawals and gets pulled from the prison to stand trial all the way up until he beats his drug addiction is some of the best acting I've seen in the entire show. And that heartwarming scene with him and Agent Lang, where he's about to be sent back to Sona, but before he leaves, she gives him her father's good luck coin. Then he holds on to that coin as Teabag puts a verbal and physical onslaught on him to get him back on drugs so he can fight Sammy.
You're not talking straight. You're not talking straight. Withdrawals are the worst way to die. You're gonna shake and you sweat until you evaporate into nothing. It's a long, bumpy road into hell. Is that what you want, Alex, or do you want to live?
I'll see you on the other side.
Come crawling back.
Beautiful. But speaking of Sammy, it is now finally time for him to take over Sona. Augusto gives him a gun at the end of episode 9 to use on Lechero. So in the beginning of episode 10, he puts that gun to Lechero's head, but just can't pull the trigger because he has too much respect for what Lechero once was. But he is now running Sona, so this puts Lechero in danger with all the other Sona inmates and loses them free access to go in and out of the underground tunnel. But Teabag, who is also in on the escape now, has a solution. Have Brad take out Sammy in a fight. And let me be serious about Brad for a second. He is the biggest front runner in the entire show. The man literally has two states of being: depressed and about to off himself, or overly confident to the point of idiocy. Like, why are you telling people you are ex-Delta Force? You were literally moving like Courage the Cowardly Dog in the beginning of the season, minus the courageousness. But of course, Teabag, being a man that also likes to dabble in stolen valor from time to time, uses this fake confidence to his advantage and convinces Brad to fight Sammy as a way into the escape. And I was genuinely worried for Brad when I saw this man Sammy, shirt off, listening to rap music as he meditated. That music was so loud, it was even permeating into the underground tunnels where Michael, Mahone, and Whistler were trapped. Yeah, the writers were definitely like, he's the leader of Sona now, so we gotta give him some sick ass scene. But to make things worse for Brad, he can't find his secret Diddy miss, so he has no chance in this fight. He does land a few hits, but eventually he just starts getting whooped by Sammy. And just as Sammy is about to do his finishing move we saw in the first episode, one of his goons alerts him that they found Scofield and they have him and Mahone trapped behind the door. So he leaves to go deal with that, which means Brad is our victor. A win is a win. Undefeated, never lost, undisputed king of Sona, Brad Bellic, baby. But after a long standoff, Michael finally decides to let them in and hands over the escape plan to Sammy and his goons as long as they take Whistler. Sammy agrees and decides to have a look at the hole, and that's when it completely collapses on him.
So old, gotta run out the high when I play my music so the roof don't fall on me. So old, gotta run out the high when I play my music so the roof don't fall on me. So old, gotta run out the high when I play my music so the roof don't fall on me.
Then Lechero shoots the rest of the goons. But what really grinded my gears was Whistler mocking Michael for the hole collapsing.
I should have been asking if you were a real engineer.
I'll do better next time.
I'm gonna go back down and try to salvage some of those braces.
Yeah, I'll go with you.
You have no idea what he just pulled off. In the face of complete and utter failure, my GOAT came through using what he knows best, being a structural engineer. Before he let Sammy check out the hole, he removed one of the braces so it would collapse on him.
This motherfucker don't miss.
No, he's fucking good.
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
He's good.
But now with that out the way, there's nothing holding the group back. Lechero's back in power. Everyone seems bought in. Teabag's even digging. But of course, this is Prison Break and nothing ever goes as planned. And it starts raining, which means they have to break out tonight. And as Michael said earlier, it is impossible to do it at night. So everyone starts to lose faith. But Mahone steps up and basically says, we are all listening to the group leader. And if group leader says we're breaking out tonight, then we are. And that speech gets everyone back on board. But now Michael has a few things he needs to get in order to escape at night. First order of business is turning the electricity off. So he gets Sucre to read off the model and customer service number. And he calls the customer service number, acting as a contractor working on the generator. And he figures out how much time they have before the backup generator turns on. Now to deal with the patrol vehicles, Sucre ends up cutting some wires to put the cars out of commission. But he ends up getting pulled in for questioning by one of the guards for a warrant that he has. Now back at the hole, everything is all set up for their escape. But of course, Teabag has planted seeds of doubt into some of the group members that Michael might be trying to pull something. This has to be one of the worst co-workers to deal with. Talks shit behind people's back and uses being social as a way to avoid working. But that scene where he tries to get Mahone on his side and Mahone just calls him and his family worthless inbreds was peak rage bait.
Justice. If there was an ounce of it left in this world, you'd be lying face down in the same unmarked grave as the rest of your inbred family. Between me and you, Alex, is a badge. And the last time I checked, you didn't even have that. So you can just keep on hoping for your happy endings, Alex. You just keep on plowing here with them blinders on, you know? But think about them blinders here.
But because they don't trust Michael, Lechero, Teabag, and Bellic decide to be the first three in line. Michael even asks Mahone if he wants to go in front, and he's like, nah, right behind you, boss. And his intuition was correct because the first three inmates get caught and get brought back into Sona. So Michael waits for the perfect opportunity and finally makes his break with the remaining three members. They duck under cars until it's clear enough to make their final break towards the fence. Yeah, all that planning, and it all came down to straight fuck it we ball decision making by Michael. But this really speaks to how even in a chaotic situation like this, where you have to make quick decisions, he still comes through.
That's what legendary players do. Kobe Bryant broke his fucking hand, and he did that. That's what legendary players do. LeBron, legendary, 3-1 comeback, came back. Kevin Durant got his foot on the line, went into overtime. He didn't score, bro. He didn't put up no buckets.